The fact is, you don't need to be a neuroscientist, a neurologist, or even a physician of any kind. When you look at those early Ramon Cajal histopathology and the beautiful staining of these different neural structures, it's such art, and people respond to that. Now, of course, there's so many other ways of rendering that and different bioluminescent or other ways of rendering the brain or rendering fiber pathways, but it is at the core, there's such a beauty to it that is totally independent of its function, totally, or at least of your understanding of its function.
Yes.
I like that you've taken the time or the ability to be in awe of these things, because I think that's a universal feeling.
Yeah. And speaking of Cajal, I actually used the Golgi stain, which was the stain he used. It's a very challenging stain to use. It only stains some of the neurons, essentially randomly. And I learned that. I don't think anyone does it anymore.
A brief historical aside here. What Adam and I are referring to are two pathologists, Ramon G. Cajal and Camillo Golgi, who shared the Nobel Prize in 1906. Golgi developed a method for staining brain cells or neurons while leaving the surrounding cells transparent. Cajal improved upon this technique. This allowed Cajal to chart the microscopic structure of the brain. He's considered the first neuroscientist. And in fact, his drawings that illustrate the arborizations or tree growing of brain cells are still in use today. One could even say that Adam's interest in these arborizations relate to his parallel interest in nature photography.
But I was doing it to count spines, which are these little projections off of dendrites that were the synapses. And they're interesting in themselves. Again, they look like little buds on branches. And they're very hard to stain to look at their structure. So I was getting images that were very similar to some of those classic Cajal images of the first neurons that he was drawing from looking at that same stain. And every stain shows you a different view of the brain. Same slice, same brain, but different ways of looking at it, which has been a theme throughout my career as I move on in the future and use functional brain imaging and MRI and fMRI. It's fascinating on how many different windows you can take to look at the same thing and get a completely different perspective on it.
Particularly with MRI and these different MRI sequences, there's so much data that is acquired. It's just then how that data is rendered, whether you're focusing on the anatomy or the pathology of things, how you then react to them. There's a whole sort of closed loop notion to that as well.